Scientists will have to realize that everything they know about the outside world is filtered through the limitations of the instrument through which they perceive it. Or what is the instrument through which we perceive the world? The finite mind. So until we know the nature of the mind with which the world is known, we cannot know anything for certain about that world. We cannot be sure, for instance, that the limitations that we attribute to the world are not part of the perceiving faculty. If we were to remove the perceiving faculty, namely the mind, what would remain of the world? We don't know, because we can't. The only way we can perceive the world is through the mind. So we might conclude from this that it is not possible to know the nature of the world. That would be true except for one fact, that we emanate from the world. We are part of the world. And we do have direct, immediate access to ourselves. When I say immediate, I mean knowledge of ourselves that is not mediated through the finite mind. So the only element of the world that we can know, the thing in itself, as Kant called it, is the knowledge of ourself. And sooner or later, scientists must realize this. Just one thing to add to that. Of course, if we investigate the nature of ourself, we arrive at consciousness. So is this what, I'm not sure that it was Einstein, who was it that said that consciousness is fundamental? I thought it was Schrödinger. And anyway, whoever it was, it's not quite enough to say that consciousness is fundamental, because panpsychists also believe that consciousness is fundamental. Panpsychism, from pan meaning everything and psyche meaning mind or consciousness, panpsychists, which is the kind of cutting edge of contemporary science's view of consciousness now is panpsychism, namely the belief that everything has at least a degree of consciousness. So even the smallest particles have a modicum of consciousness. In other words, everything, every object, including the smallest subatomic particles, are conscious. Panpsychism, everything is conscious. So this is the extent to which not really scientists, but scientists and philosophers of mind have incorporated consciousness in their model of the reality. But it's a mistake, and the reason they've made a mistake is that they've started with their matter model. That's the model they start with, and then they realize that consciousness is this awkward phenomenon that is not cannot be accounted for under the conventional materialist model. So to accommodate consciousness in their model, they've stuck with the materialist model and added consciousness to it. And this is their way of accommodating the inconvenient fact of consciousness, the reality of consciousness, without giving up their materialist presumptions. But it's a mistake. You have to give up the matter model. You have to start from scratch, not start from the matter model and add consciousness to it. You have to start from scratch. You have to start with a fundamental element of our experience, which is consciousness. That consciousness is the only element of our experience. All that anybody has ever known, does ever know, or could ever know is the knowing of experience. So consciousness is in fact all that is ever known. So why build a model of reality that starts with matter, which is an abstract category of experience that is supposed to exist outside consciousness, that nobody has ever found or could ever find, and then try to derive consciousness from matter? We're trying to derive the only thing that is ever truly known, consciousness, from that which is never known. It's madness. Look around at the world. Look at the state of the world. Look at the state of our society. Could it be that the state of disintegration and chaos that our society is in, and our relationship with nature, could it have something to do with our fundamental attitude towards reality? Well, of course it is. It is a reflection of that attitude. So, whilst the understanding consciousness is fundamental is, of course, a big step forward for a physicist to come out and say that, it's not enough. It's not what we speak of here. Because it can be interpreted in different ways. We also believe that consciousness is fundamental, but it's possible to believe that consciousness is fundamental and be a panpsychist. So we have to be clearer in our formulation. We have to define what we mean when we say consciousness is fundamental. Here we mean, in philosophical terms, consciousness is the ontological primitive. It is the primary element of reality from which everything else is derived.